Welcome to Mainland, your local regional television station, coming to you from the Nelson and Tasman region. In today's news, young boy struck by car in Takaka, first responders parade a hit with the public, campaign to remind people to share the road, and NZTE to attract more regional investment. A 3-year-old Nelson boy was flown to Wellington Hospital on Sunday afternoon after being struck by a car in Takaka. The accident happened in Commercial Street around 2 p.m. when it appeared the boy ran out in front of a passing vehicle. He suffered suspected head injuries. Police inquiries into the incident are continuing. Nelson's inaugural Emergency Services Parade, First Responders 2014, proved a hit with the public and the men and women who keep the region safe. Over 100 emergency services personnel, accompanied by 22 vehicles, paraded down Trafalgar Street on Saturday morning to applause from members of the public. The parade was followed by speeches at the church steps by Nelson MP Nick Smith and Nelson Mayor Rachel Rees and emergency services leaders, including Police District Commander Richard Chambers and St John District Operations Manager James McMeekin.
Yes, Matt, it is about saluting those volunteers that provide that service, and it's also about celebrating as a community the strength of those services. The last point I want to make is this is not just about being ready, but also about prevention. And if I look, for instance, at our road fatality figures in the Nelson region and the superb progress that's been made in the prevention area, as we celebrate and salute those that provide us with our support, let us also personally commit to doing those sensible bits that we need to do in our own households with our civil defence packs, or our own households in terms of improving our safety on the roads, all of those things that we can do as well, so that Nelson can be that tremendous, safe, community-focused place that we are.
I'm really hopeful this is going to become an annual event where we can come together to celebrate and honour the men and women and cadets that support the emergency services and first response in Nelson. I want to say to you that it's only occasions like this that we get to say thank you to people in a way where we can have some fun and have some conversation with the people that are out there day and night. Most families in Nelson at some point in their lives will come into contact with our first responders in an emergency event or a point where they need to be protected from an unsafe environment.
I say thank you to the public, because without your trust and confidence, policing would be a challenge for us, and I can boast at times like this and tell you that trust and confidence in the police across New Zealand is the highest in Nelson. So thank you very much to the public.
Our local fleet of ambulances for the Nelson area alone, we respond to over 9,000 responses a year. 3,500 of those alone are under lights and sirens. So you can imagine we're very, very busy. For St John though, it's not all about just the ambulances, if you like, making the most noise. It's also about what we do in the community as well.
Police Area Commander Inspector Steve Brearley said First Responders 2014 was a complete success. Mainland's Janine Pugh spoke with Steve about how the parade went.
Okay, Steve, in the weekend there was the First Responders March up Trafalgar Street. You went along to that, you were part of it. Can you tell us a little bit about what went on and how it was for you guys?
Yeah, sure. You know, to be honest, I think it was a fantastic opportunity for police to get together and to be thanked by the public, which is something we don't get a lot of, to be honest, en masse like that. I probably underestimated it a little bit when I went along. When I came up to the Trafalgar part of the street, the upper end of Trafalgar Street, I was amazed at the amount of people that were there with their families, applauding police, fire, ambos, army, all sorts of first responders. It's really, really nice, and certainly as an area commander, to see that the community backs us so much.
Yeah, you guys do work tirelessly and often thanklessly. Do you think the rest of the country, what's their thoughts? Have you heard any response from other areas?
No, I haven't at the moment, not about ours, but I know in Counties Monaco they do a similar thing every year. And of course they've got a lot more numbers there in terms of police, and they can get 500 or 600 police officers marching in a more formal structure. And that's also a huge event for the public as well, so that's quite stunning to be involved with too. But I can see this potentially as something that we might do every 2 to 3 years, depending on how it all goes.
Can you tell us what actually went on, especially because you guys worked together with the fire department? Tell us what went on.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a few different displays there. It wasn't just about marching and applause. We also had the fire service cut open a car using the Jewels of Life, which most people thankfully never ever get to see. You can imagine why. As police, what we did is we had a taser display of 50,000 volts is what the taser discharges onto a dummy, which we had quite a few people volunteering for that too, which was interesting. But no, we used a dummy for that, so that was really interesting too. And we also had a demonstration of the speed laser, which we'd use for vehicles, and we had a whole heap of kids testing how fast they could run, and they got a certificate at the end of that to show that they actually ran whatever kilometres per hour that they went. So that was a bit of fun too. And I think basically the feedback we were getting from people was from the little kids as well. They want to see your handcuffs, they want to see your spray, they want to see the firearms that one of our guys had. All that stuff that kids, I remember when I was a kid, and the school cop came along, and we were interested in the same things. I guess over time some things just don't change. But no, it was a fantastic day for our staff, for the public, and a big thank you to Matt Lowry from the council for putting it together, because I was privy to some of the planning there, and it wasn't an easy thing to do, to organise all those different agencies together at the same time. So well done, it was great.
Meanwhile, organiser Matt Lowry says he couldn't believe his luck with the weather, and he says he was hugely grateful to everyone who had made the event a success. He says he's stoked with the way it went, the weather was perfect, and the turnout of both first responders and members of the public was fantastic. Mr Lowry said he would now be talking to the services involved about the possibility of holding a follow-up event in 2016. A campaign is underway to remind everyone to share the road for safety's sake. Between 2008 and 2012, an average of 121 cyclists were seriously injured and 9 were killed each year in crashes involving a car. And up to 75% of all cyclist vehicle crashes where a cyclist was hospitalised, car drivers were found to have primary responsibility for the crash. Some motorists feel cyclists are a nuisance on the road or an unnecessary intrusion on their space. They can disassociate themselves from cyclists and don't identify with them as a group. This is particularly dangerous because it can be used to justify behaviour, good and bad. In addition, a look but fail to see scenario exists where motorists might look in the direction of cyclists without registering them. The driver may have looked in the right direction but failed to give way, most likely since they didn't expect a cyclist to be there. New Zealand Transport Agency has developed the Share the Road campaign, which is being piloted in larger cities and has been adopted by Nelson City Council and the local Bicycle Nelson Bays group. It targets motorists at the moment of truth. The campaign encourages road users to be courteous to each other and to acknowledge that they are not the only ones on the road. To help with this, the campaign is designed to personalise and humanise people cycling so that motorcyclists can see them as real people who have a right to share the road safely. The aim is for drivers to see the person, not simply the bike. Look out for the billboards and some cyclists wearing t-shirts that let you know a bit about who they are: dad, mum, sister, son, auntie, uncle, etc. Some high-profile riders will be wearing the shirts as well. While this campaign targets motorists, the same messages about sharing the road and being safe is being reinforced with cyclists throughout many other existing channels, including Bikewise, the official New Zealand code for cyclists, and Ride on Cycle skills training. Well-known health researcher and health mentor Jason Bennett was in town at the weekend and spoke to a packed-out audience at the Suter. Jason has written the inspirational book, Eat Less, Live Long. Mainland's Gary Watson caught up with Jason in our studio on Monday to discuss his research and wisdom regarding health and well-being.
Welcome to Nelson. What brings you along?
Well, seminar down here,
came to do a seminar down here, which is great. We had a sell-out seminar and a lot of interest. So I get requests to come down here quite regularly because people here just love talking about health and learning about it.
So what got you into all this?
Well, my mum was very sick with toxemia when I was in the womb. So I was born at 7 months. I was a little 2 pound 9 baby, very sick, very unwell. I ended up 6 weeks in an incubator. Then I developed asthma, hay fever, every cold, every bug, every flu that went around, digestive problems, bowel problems, weight problems, really bad skin problems. And this was back in the 1960s and early 70s. So at the time I was told it was just genetic, bad luck, it's hereditary, there's nothing you can be doing about it. Take the drugs, and I was on 16 shots of Ventolin a day. I was on Intel prevention, I was on steroid injections, in and out of hospital, on ventilators. And I got to the point when I was 20 and I conceived my first son. This is 1987. And I thought, you know, if I want to be a good father and have a long, healthy life, I'm going to need to change something. But I didn't know what to do because I'd never considered that it had anything to do with diet. And I'd been told it was genetic and it was bad luck and take the drugs. So I started studying diet and lifestyle and environment in 1987. Over 4 years, I cured everything. I started learning about centenarians and fasting and longevity and vegetarianism and fibre and plants and whole foods and nutrition and all that stuff. And by the time I was 24, 25, I was completely cured. So now I haven't had asthma medication. I haven't had an asthma attack for 20 years, no medication, no hay fever, no allergies, colds, flus. I haven't been sick for 20 years. And it's simply because I changed my diet and lifestyle and rebuilt my gut health and the bacteria and my genetic expression. So that kind of started it. And ever since then, people have been asking me about how to get well and what do you do and have you written a book and all these things. So I've now written my first book, which is really exciting, the first of 10, because I've been researching for 25 years. And that's just come out and it's doing really well. It's in the Nielsen top 10 sales. So that's really exciting. So a lot of people are really interested. So that's when it started. And now I find myself teaching people how to get well. So.
Now, folks probably remember our first issues program back on the 3rd of March had a program all about using foods to cure cancer. And we're going to take a look at some aspects of that during this interview today. But if you have an interest in living a long and healthy life, then today's program is exactly for you. Now, you've studied people over 100 years of age. Yes. And you've found some common denominators.
Yes, it's fascinating, and I go into this in great detail in the book. What I call them is the centenarians, and they're the people that live long, healthy lives without drugs and without disease. And so you're looking at the Vilcabambas, the Abkhazians, the Okinawans, the Loma Linda population in America, Sardinians, Ikarans. These are the groups of people all around the world. And the amazing thing is they don't communicate. You know, there's been no communication between them. However, they all do similar things, similar commonalities, and they all live these long, healthy lives. And the scientists consistently say, after reporting and verifying and confirming and studying these people, that it's not genetic. It's nothing to do with genetics. So the commonalities are amazing. You know, they're plant-based, so they eat about between 90 and 95% plant-based foods. So your nuts and seeds and fruits and vegetables, whole grains and legumes. They have the lowest levels of heart disease, cancers, obesity and diabetes. So not only are they getting to 100 and 105 and 110, but when they get there, they're not sick and they haven't had to use drugs. So it's a completely different paradigm to what we have, where a lot of us are crawling into our 60s and 70s and we started getting sick in our 40s. And a lot of us are on high blood pressure medication in our mid-40s. And I've got friends, you know, I'm that age, I'm in my late 40s, and a lot of my friends are on this medication. And yet you look at these centenarian groups and it's not genetic. It's all about how they live their life. And these are people in their hundreds that don't know what high blood pressure is. And that these are people that have never known anyone in their communities who've ever had breast cancer. You know,
yeah. But there's no money for pharmaceutical companies or for doctors if everyone's healthy. Okay?
Absolutely, yeah, it does make sense.
So you end up with these pharmaceutical companies treating certain symptoms which may or may not be as a result of diet, which then causes other problems, and then you sell more drugs because of the side effects of the first one, and it seems to go round in a big circle.
It is a vicious circle. Yeah, we really have got plugged into that whole thinking that we can eat ourselves sick and then drug ourselves well, and we can't, of course. And so one of my passions in life, my real passion and my kind of mission, I guess, is to really re-educate people, and for those that are interested, in that it's all about diet, lifestyle and environment.
Note that the full interview with Jason will be on an upcoming Issues program. For the first time since its 1997 inception, the 2013 Roger Award for the worst transnational corporation operating in New Zealand will be presented in Nelson. CA, FCA, Campaign Against Foreign Control of Aotearoa, and GAT Watchdog are the organisers of the Roger Award and are doing so in conjunction with local organisers including Mary Ellen O'Connor. Mary Ellen O'Connor says that local Nelson and Tasman businesses has been very supportive of the event, with many providing sumptuous goods for a raffle to be drawn on the night. Named after the great deregulator, 1980s Finance Minister Roger Douglas, the name could also commemorate Nelson's own Roger Kerr, longtime Executive Director of the Business Roundtable and very much in cahoots with the other Roger. The pirate flag on top of the very ugly trophy makes the Jolly Roger connection, and happily suggestively it rightly invokes the notion of Rogering. The 2013 finalists are ANZ, Chorus, IAG Insurance Group, Imperial Tobacco, Rio Tinto, Sky City Casino and Talent 2. The guest judges choose a winner based on the worst performances in the following categories: economic manipulation, exploitation of people, environmental impact and political interference. Organisers of the Roger Award have involved the public in the choosing of the People's Choice winner, also to be announced at the Nelson event. And finally, New Zealand Trade and Enterprise is to establish a new regional attraction program to encourage more firms to invest in New Zealand's regional economies. Economic Minister Stephen Joyce says NZTE will work in partnership with regions around the country to create comprehensive investment profiles that outline the strengths of the particular regional economy, the opportunities for investment and what the region can offer to investors. Mr Joyce says they know there are big opportunities for New Zealand from the massive growth in the number of consumers across Asia. He says the profiles will allow regions to clearly lay out the advantages they offer investors in terms of natural resources, infrastructure, the availability of skilled workers and innovation hubs that support investment. Stephen Joyce says NZTE will also provide a toolkit, training and assistance for regional economic development agencies to better support investor engagement, guidance and due diligence. The government is commissioning a number of regional growth studies to evaluate growth opportunities in particular regions. Mr Joyce says in commissioning the studies, the government will work alongside regional stakeholders such as regional councils and economic development agencies. Stephen Joyce says local input into the reports will be vital to ensure they are evidence-based and comprehensive. After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.